Yes, it is Tuesday afternoon, June 27th, year 2022. Here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty and Francis Ann, and of course, the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access to so much so that we're actually taking it as a given, taking it for granted in a good way, actually, and benefiting from it in ways that we are aware of and in ways that we're not aware of. And of course, the reflection of what public access that concept stands for. And in the spirits of that, we are involving art and music. And mainly, we have the group art shows, monthly art shows. It's on display here at LTV, and I have the privilege to curate the show for many years, taking it from the hands of Sabina, and that was like 25 years ago, something like that. So there is a. I'm just trying to look for maybe I can use. Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see if this is gonna work. What do you think? Maybe I'll just do that. Yes. Hello. Yeah. Oh, that's actually awesome. Yes. So let's see that. Yeah, okay, that's good. So speaking of the extension of the effect that the concept of public access has on us as people, I thought that the given that results itself in the exhibitions that we have here at LTV emphasizes it in its own unique way, and the main thing is really the continuity, the people anticipate and expect and look forward to, and in that sense, the this concept is coming to fruition and coming together with how it intends to be to begin with. I'm gonna close another button here. I'm gonna look a little more official. Let's see. Okay, maybe that's okay. Maybe I should do this. Oh boy. Okay, maybe. So, and I have my coffee here and everything. So the profile that you kind of create. It's very interesting. You have an attempt in place. You're trying to be the best that you can, and then you try to be also just a good person. Just doing good, just fulfilling an acceptable amount of potential on daily basis, day in and day out. And find yourself in the cycle that spells really the concern for others, the concern for the definition of all the values that they come together in order to form, a society, a neighborhood, a community, and also the wholeness feeling of that comes along with the supposedly finding out who you are, looking for yourself, finding what this finding means. And in more ways than one, you realize that you really don't need to change much, because most of the things that you are witnessing is things that your attitude already contacted it and integrated and communicated with it more than once in the past. So it's accustomed to not only to that concept, but it's accustomed to this particular one. It seems like to begin with was an ingredient that belongs to the family that you are a part of also. And it's very difficult to shake the nobility and the sturdiness of that structure that speaks for so many valuable things. The creative zone. Whatever background you want to put on it. I mean, that's fine, but it's just the the totality of a given frame, and your involvement is being enhanced because you actually find yourself building the set itself upon which the story will be told, which you wrote also. But in the same token, you don't want to say that this is all about control. People are mistaken sometimes how they trigger happy when using the word control. You like to control things, and I think in the way that I look at how I approach this aspects of that which life demands from us, and we want to get engaged in certain things, and there's like an understanding, learning about an understanding that translates itself to the new situation, and you want to know as much and as fast as you can of what it's all about, because this is where you're going to live for a while. So speaking mentally, emotionally, it doesn't have to be that you move this body and your belongings from one place to another, which in itself can be a great exercise. If you ever have to go through it and you come with the right attitude, you can come up with a lot of treasures. Probably a skeleton for a movie, at least a dozen meaningful paintings, a poetry book, and maybe 20 recordings, underground recordings of some sort of volunteering. And it's interesting. I use the word volunteering more than once lately, and so you're actually really finding yourself being generous. Not because you just say, okay, I want to be generous, I want to do good to others. Of course, it's a given, but you're more like finding out about yourself, that you're somewhere toiling and working and giving and giving and building and sharing that comes out of the moment itself, that speaks for some kind of whatever vibe is circulating it, uh, circling and circling and circling until the color is being formed, until the subject matter is being kind of erupting to life, and course of action is on the alert, and so much more to that equation. While actually across from it is the mechanism that will give the answers, reply to things in order to keep this vehicle going. And when you say this vehicle going, if you approach it without the cliche aspect of you can't help yourself but approaching it in that specific way, then you immediately start the journey with conservation, attention to conservation in mind. Suddenly you find appealing to be able to conserve. Not that we'll have more tomorrow, that we'll have more tomorrows, more like it. But anyway, in the midst of all that, in the thick of all that, and inside of all that, there's the the actual action. Hands are moving, thoughts are flying, merging is taking place, and notes are flying all over the place. Conclusions, learning lessons, adapting, feeling more the force that supports the backwind of that which you admire, that which you respect tremendously. And suddenly you find yourself like a supporter of that mechanism. That the mechanism is modest enough to allow you to be a part of the new attitude in place that will help increase or maintain the chances of survival and survival and more survival. Uh, so there, you see it's such an accurate, instinctive um, reflection, because you get to I mean, yeah, as artists, and of course you take it to life also, and you can't get rid of the fact that there are choices, there are options, there are opportunities, there are that which is available, though requests and requires your fullest attention and extreme level of brightness. And you realize, oh man, I'm probably a little bit too human for all these requirements. But then also of another way that you can be accepted and make a difference. But it will take some doing and some um, different levels of understandings and revelations and discoveries to get to a point where you can say, okay, maybe I can, after all, sit back and enjoy and relax and accept and open even further and be ready that if any new interaction will take place, that you know in which way you want to benefit from it, but also of course, without saying that attitude will guarantee the one who interacts with you to be benefited incredibly, because we come from a clean source. We come from the rhythm that supports the rhythm that comes from that which was supported by the rhythm into the cycle that is in itself a rhythm that happens to be supported by this kind of type of uniqueness that still doesn't have any definition by name, to accept new rules and actually to implement new rules and angles without any further discussion, so to speak. And so there's a lot in the middle, in the heart of the action that you are responsible for, and that spells the surety of returns that our society needs to thrive on, in order to, you know, let's just say that vanishing is um, uh, inevitable, but but we can make a difference in how we can ride this ship, this vehicle, in the days that are remaining. And so I find out that when you really come to this kind of middle middleness of things, and you say, and you allow the emotions and the weight of the psychological demands to melt and kind of shed away, and 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 you prepare yourself, so this kind of change will not take over too quickly and will kind of derail, and then you have to again waste time to recuperate and to. So now you're focusing on the fact that I want to at least remain where I am. If I don't go forward, I don't want to go backwards. At least I want to ensure that where I am now, if I don't succeed in advancing the 10 steps ahead, I will still be there. That would be a big achievement, actually. So I go to the drum and I say, well, I don't say anything. I just kind of want to understand that I'm capable to do things that I don't necessarily will end up doing. But grinding it through my thoughts and through my the glasses of probability, uh, it sheds particles that is out of your control to determine which way they're going and what is going to be the end result of this. And I wouldn't use the word liberating. When you find out and then you join and then you um, and then you feel like liberated. Which I don't want to use this word, and for the life of me, I have a few that I can replace it with. But I would love to say that you reach a point where it comes faster than you think, and also you never thought that it's going to come. You didn't have any aspirations that let's say you work, you create and all that, and you think that this is leading you to there, to that, to that, to there, and so it's one type of a journey, and then there's the one that you take the same kind of focus that I just described, but shift it to the journey itself rather than to the moment of stillness where fine execution is taking place. And I have to take this call for 1 second. So the what is it? I just need to check one thing using my okay. Let's see. Okay. 45. Okay, very good. So then um, uh, the aspect of yeah. So going back to the word liberating, so you manage to achieve a crucial to conclude a crucial stage in the early on stage of your engagement, and then already then and there you feel the relief. It's like as if you enter with migraines that are major and debilitating, and a few 20 minutes later you leave with just a minor headache. Huge achievement. So early on, when you start describing or relating to your feelings or how you feel by way of I feel liberated, it's liberating. You take it one step up above from where it really is residing, more kind of towards the earth. It was like 70-30, and suddenly it becomes 60-40, which is actually a great way to look at it. So shifting from A70, B30 into B60 and A40. I think that's liberating in itself. That's liberating in itself. And and you start appreciating that kind of unique relationship, friendship, achieving closeness, achieving level of comfort, and from there, just seeking, I would say, modestly, um, a continuation of this uh, status quo, um, and introduce the sub language to start the process of creativity, of action, of opening, of closing, of releasing, of smearing, of gluing, of detaching, of writing, of pounding, of the whole idea of brain work and imagination in um, relating to as many avenues and angles as you can, relating to speed and the implications of it in your life, divided by uh, the creative aspect of who you are as a human being on planet Earth, and then you realize you don't even have to think about the other half because you already gave enough answers to uh, to get the green light. And I know it sounds um, like well, we worked so hard to get to this point anyway to begin with. So why would we want to put things on hold or chase certain things away or try to avoid certain things? Because isn't it that we need to really go through everything, whatever it is, and then by at least first encounter, you get somewhat of an idea of what it is that you're talking about because you felt it firsthand, even if it was for a short while. Still, nevertheless, even that short encounter is meaningful and influential and carries its weight and leaves its impression. So you want to really also, because you search meticulously, then you realize that a lot of the things that has to do with the imagination and spirit and in pure intelligence, pure brains, pure common sense, combined with the um, solid points of reference that are um, realistic, that they hold water in the reality that they belong to, and their contribution is not by way of this kind of act of emptying and filling. It's more like arrive to destination. That's something that will be repeated, but it's already has been accomplished in a way that when you enter supposedly officially the zone of um, the race of loops, and then you're somewhat guaranteed. I mean, you can arrive last, but you're part of the race, and you will complete the cycles. So it really is. It doesn't matter. I mean, even if you arrive last, to you still will be considered as in the category of 50,000 times better, more efficient, faster, smarter, clearer, funnier, powerful than the rest of the 99.9% of all creatures on planet Earth, period. So you think about it, and you realize that it doesn't hurt to have some faith, but not to have some faith only, to create the faith that you will practice, that you will adapt. And then you can eliminate the issues of what should I do, whether I do it, is it good for me, is it the right thing, is it? So all these things just don't exist, and then art really takes it picks up its unique specific meaning through those encounters of whatever is happening to you in your mind. And all the results, I remember I remember all all, all the results that took place. You sit at a given time in a given place, and you think, and suddenly these thoughts, they demand attention, and they demand recognition, acknowledgement, and and then you realize that that's the right thing to do to begin with. That's a let's say 80% of everything becomes like a no-brainer. So the 80% of it is things that we're not going to find ourselves unnecessarily dwelling and over dwelling and dwelling and more dwelling after you're dwelling, and then more dwelling and then dwelling. You're not going to find yourself there. And if you do, it should be like a really very special reason why this is taking place. But automatically, 80% of that kind of fear factor is being pretty much contained vis-a-vis creating the right compatible attitude. And in that sense, you become your own best friend, because you way too logical not to consider this as the first consideration of approach to life. You, yourself, and you. Imena nili mili. Imena nili mili. In the you, yourself, and you. They, themselves, then they. I said that here before. And to know for a great degree of certainty that the heart, the emotional aspect of engagement will not go away. It's not like, okay, because of certain things that are taking place, then you might lose a lot, and you might kind of have to go back to square one and start from fresh, from that's something that I don't really like or favor so much, to kind of reach a point where I have to start all over again that which I've already completed, because I wasn't complacent enough, and because I didn't understand enough what's really important, and what's the code of conduct and code of engagement and all the codes that I needed to know, that I ignored and neglected. But you know what? There's a price to be paid, because we want to be able to go back to the crime scene, the artistic crime scene, and resume the action, resume the loopish aspect of motion, to build a record as you thrive and operate on a record. You build a record, and now you're entering a zone where no one can take that for real. No one can take that away from you. No one can take that the certain abilities away from you when it comes to the artistic wholenessness. It's you start realizing that actually you own something that a lot of people would like to have, or would like to know about, or would like to accept, nurturing and nourishment, and they favor being with you. They favor being in the vicinity where you imply and apply and actualize, I guess a behavior. But anyway, so I was talking about the profile. So the profile is really that which always tells us, it tells me, when I'm in front of the canvas. Like yesterday, I finished a piece that I went back to it, I don't know, 6, 7, 9 times. And every time out of these 9 times, it was like I ended up with zero, empty, nothingness. Yeah, I ended up with just simply not being satisfied or happy, or I couldn't even find myself that there is a probability that maybe I can accept that. It was just like unbelievable. And then, um, because I built up this kind of sense of um desperation almost, because how much paint I dumped into it. And when I say dumped, it's not a mistake. I dumped it right there. And I did what I had to do with it. And I just, at some point, spared it from further uh, steering. But in the, I suddenly liked what I saw, because at some point I realized that the substance itself has a self that, in its own unique ways, it can show you the a mutuality of things that I can mention here, whether it's that kind of heart to heart, spirit to spirit, soul to soul, and in moments where the verbal aspect is not so necessary, it's not so, even though, of course, in this process of creativity, the verbal aspect is the leaders of all suggestions, and the suggestions of all leaders. So yeah, I thought I thought that was a, a great realization when I saw the profile was resting on the surface that I noticed before. So it was like a profile. Forget about my profile or his or theirs. So it just becomes a profile. So a profile that I saw that was actually live, because it was a profile of something that it does not really matter what profile it was, whose profile it was. So it was in motion. Then I turn around, and next time I encountered it, it's pretty much still where it was before, with some minor adjustment slash uh, um, uh, advance. Um, and so the so when I went back to it, but I didn't go back. When I encountered it again, we were encountered again, it was in complete stillness. It was like a configuration of some uh, um, I don't want to say solution, but um, um, conclusive, comfortably resting, and now the surface, you can smell it. It's like you can smell the first rain before it comes, because that's just the nature of the beast. Then when it comes, you're just as surprised and just as intrigued. But here, so you go back, and then the the subject matter is a little advanced from what it was before, or also it's not in motion at all. So it came to its resting place. And I'm not going to even go there to mention what it means, whether it's new life, whether it's old life, whether it's a pause, whether it's and so many other things. But I'd like to kind of leave it there and say, okay, so that means I was told that this vision this vision in front of me declared to me that I have achieved such an incredible breakthrough, so much so that I can actually have a frozen image of a profile that will be unconditionally there for me for as long as I can imagine. And the beauty really is that I can put it on hold, on pause, and I can also enhance it, increase it, and eliminate it. That means I can make it go away. That suddenly, from having it, I will be waking up into a reality where I am not having it and I don't have it and it's not around and it's gone forever. So between complete access to benefiting and triumphing and whatnot, vis-a-vis the unity, the merging, the blending, all the way to complete annihilation, complete separation. And it's interesting to is that the I don't know if I have my the glasses. Okay, no glasses. But I wanted to yes, I wanted to read something to you that will actually conclude. Oh, okay. So we'll do this. Okay, very good. So I have this is speaking of conclusion, and this is number what? We're getting there, you know. Okay, very good. Okay, here we go. You ready? So here it's. Okay. So it says, you missed me. I noticed it. It wasn't hard to notice. Your love for me comes from a source of giants as they stroll on the quest for hunting. Though it was only a quest, I raised the issue of wonder, only so you can have a timely breather, a stable balancing gauge. Come, come now, put aside your bundle of love. It will reappear and you will be happy. You took that breather, you will be happy. You took that breather. Your life depended on it. You were a shadow. You are a shadow, so tight, loyal to reality, and you know it. You know it. First, as the softness yield, and softness indeed it is, the soft belly of hard surfaces, the uncontrolled sex drive, even though you never had this drive within the equation of intimacy yet. Yet it was lurking, drive a build-up of private sensations of humans in general, and it was crucial, dreaming like a beggar in a setup of testing the world. Why? Because you can, and because you are able and allowed, and noticed and deserved, and cold-blooded, and cool and calm, and sweet out of a chain of reaction taking place always, regardless, despite, after all, illuminating, aggressive, sensible, loving, annoying, surprisingly predictable, blasting with concern, balanced as the sheet that holds a string of dissent, responsible for the shared love to begin with. And yet the extensive knowledge does not seem to earn us a second chance, a shelter of momentary urgent needs. we might as well grant permission early and sit back with anticipation as much as knowledge shepherds us as the time suggests and point us. And lucky for us, we respond. We care. We want to be involved, regardless of the void lurking between the shrubs of uselessness. And cerebral, with some degree of mind screwing relentlessly through your eyes as it grew a vision of well wishes, drama, had a comfortable design in the approach to reality. I had a dream. It came through flawlessly when the time was right. Don't stall as your hand attempts to reach the comfort of passion. Dream like the new age as it unravels an honest attempt, that which rolls over obstacles with class and a silent walk. Your turn to do the right thing is long overdue, but never too late. Slice grown tip of the off limit turtle, turtle walk blast premature takes its turn. Finally, I appeared and your eyes shone. You knew now, you knew now is not the time to put an end to it all. As the smile from deep heart spreads choices. So love me one more time tirelessly. I need this awareness as the world needs the considerations of humans to climb above the desire to take over as it realizes it can never present love in its right dimensions by going about disregarding the pain its own actions causes. So blip into the motions of the carrying on to hold some kind of a green light to allow the almighty creation perform as it was meant to dream on little bastards, spoiled, grasping, sleepy, pouring, gravitating, unidentifying liquid. So I thought that it was and it goes into the again from the, so much harshness you just feel like the that you can fall apart any second, to feel crazily strong but yet can be just become dust suddenly. um I whispered into the dark, that's the conclusion. It is not abandoned. I kept on qual I kept on calling quietly. You were embedded in the calm, in the thought of the afterlife. I whispered into the dark. It is not abandoned. I kept on calling quietly, in the calm, in the thought of the afterlife. I love that. That's like almost like a very considerate, thoughtful punch. Usually those nasty uppercuts that not only that they're very useful, effective and devastating, you don't see it coming. Oh, when I used to be a huge fan of boxing for many years, it was like he didn't see it coming. It's so funny. They're having all this intelligent interpretation of the fight, heavyweight, and then suddenly say he didn't see it coming. He's never been down before, but he's not coming back from it. So I'm going to get rid of this here. And yes, maybe. So I was thinking, yes, he didn't see it coming, and all this wonderful goodness found the passage to effortlessly become a part of the stream itself and just chill, you know? Yes, just to be able to chill. Well, to be able to chill more than you're already chilling. And that was always a good idea. And just wanted to point out that we're sitting here on the afternoon of Tuesday, June 27th, year 2023. Here with the Hello Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello Show that's been on there since 1980. Of course, to your information, we have a wonderful group art show that's been here and new every month. So we are doing it year round. And this show that I just actually hung and curated is ready to go with an opening reception this Saturday of July 8th from 3:30 to 7. And the featured artists are Renee Dahl, whom I admire, um, Seth Lowe, whom I admire, Chris Lecoeur, whom I admire, Steve Ram with a wonderful piece, whom I admire and respect, Barbara Maslin with her wonderful, intriguing sketches, whom I admire too, and your humble servant myself, and to have this show on display through July 30th with an opening reception on July 8th between 3:30 and 7 here at the LTV public access station in Waynescott, New York, and we're actually situated literally parallel to the runway of East Hampton Airport, and that's Industrial Road, 75 Industrial Road. You can't miss it, and we wish for you to have a wonderful weekend and wonderful pleasure in experiencing the beauty of our East End neighborhood. And I wish for you to enjoy every minute of it and be safe. And we'll see you sooner than later because we're here all the time.